Okay, so here I am. I have a self-drafted pattern. And when you self-draft a pattern, you're often, you're putting down body measurement lines, and you're often drafting a garment that has, of course, ease added to it, but not seam allowance. And so if you want to add seam allowance to a garment, pattern, you can do that with a ruler, and there are grading rulers, but this is where these seam allowance discs can come in. So you see, this is my 5/8 inch disc. So that center hole there is where a pencil is gonna go through, okay? Or a pen, or whatever you're gonna use. Okay, and then this hole up here is simply for storage reasons. Okay, so we've actually made these discs before. They weren't nearly as cute as these. They weren't colored in like this. But anyway, this large hole right here is simply for hanging with the chain, and that's how we have you store them. So the center hole is important. So this is the 5/8 inch disc, okay, and the 5/8 inch disc is 5/8 inch radius. So all around the circle is 5/8 inch away from that little center dot. So I'm gonna put this down and just show you that, let me move this a little bit. It can be a little tricky sometimes to film this. So this is my easy tee pattern. And so I have my side seam right here, and it's curved, all right? So if I wanna add 5/8 inch seam allowance to it, I'm gonna come in here, and I am going to drag, if you can see my seam line there. Here, let me try, and let me just zoom in a little more here, because I think that, there we go. That'll be kind of nice. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop my pencil into the center hole, and then I'm going to just drag my little, seam allowance disc along this line. And so what I'm doing here, this is very similar to what we say to you when you're sewing and keeping an even seam allowance. You watch your guide. And so what I'm keeping an eye on is my sewing line, okay, the line that I drafted. So I'm keeping my eye on the sewing line, and I'm watching the side of my seam allowance disc. It's all this, so this is good for curves. Of course, if you're gonna add seam allowance to like a straight line, it's easier to do maybe with a ruler. And I'll come down here and do the hem. Move that. There we go. Okay, so look, I didn't do my side seam down all the way, but I'll continue it here. Just drag that out. And then I'll do my hem. And so my hem is this curved line. Oop, go up there. And then I'll come down here. And actually I think it's a little easier to do this when you're pulling the disc toward you. Okay, so now I've added my seam allowance. So this is the 5/8 inch disc, and there will be in our set 1/4 inch, 3/8 inch, and 1/2 inch as well. So those are seam allowances that are commonly used in the sewing world, and you can use the smaller ones to add. If you have a pattern that has a 1/2 inch or 1/4 inch seam allowance, you want to add more, you can do that with the seam allowance discs.